Hi chocolate friends, it's Carla here with Opening Chocolate, and today I'm doing a bar bits video, but not on a bar. I'm doing it on something different. I'm doing it on this chocolate macadamia nut spread from Manoa Chocolate out of Hawaii. If you would like to know more about Manoa Chocolate, I've done a previous video with them that I will link above. But most of the time in the stores we see chocolate hazelnut spread. So this is something that they're doing different with the macadamia. And you know I like the botany as much as the chocolate, so I'm going to talk a little bit about macadamia today. Macadamia is a genera in the Proteaceae family, which is a family common in South Africa and Australia. There are actually only 4 species in the macadamia genera, 2 which are commonly used commercially. So the Macadamia integrifolia is the one that is in Hawaii, and it's called the smooth nut. And the Macadamia tetraphylla is the one that is most common in California in commercial use. I have 2 little examples here of macadamia nuts that I have. They're very hard. So how did they get from Australia to Hawaii? Well, in 1837, they were brought to Hawaii as a windbreak for sugarcane production. And that is where they were actively bred to make them a viable commercial crop, which is probably why we associate them more with Hawaii than Australia and South Africa. But now, Hawaii used to be the largest commercial producer, but now Australia and South Africa are the largest commercial producers, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But let's finish talking about the botany. So not actually a nut, even though they are called a tree nut, botanically speaking, they are probably more of a dry drupe. So a drupe is a fruit that has a pit. Think peaches, mangoes, avocados, anything like that. So this would be the pit that I'm holding. If you pick the fruit off the tree or get it right off the tree, it would have a small greenish brown layer around the outside, which would not be as fleshy as an avocado or a peach or a mango, but hard, which is why it's called a dry drupe. So some people may argue a follicle, but I'm going to go with dry drupe today. The tree can have white flowers or can have pink flowers. These will look green when they're on the tree. When they're ripe, they will fall to the ground, and that is how they are harvested. So they're harvested when they are on the ground with this, sometimes the circular sweeper that looks like a street sweeper that scoops them into the harvester. It's kind of neat to watch if you ever get a chance to have them watch them being harvested. So Australian Aboriginals were using macadamia nut long before any Europeans even set eyes on them. So there's some Aboriginal names for it: Bopple, Gindi, Gindili, Boombara, Kindle, or I believe all the Aboriginal names. There's some European colloquial names: Queensland nut, Hawaii nut, bush nut, bopple nut, marucci nut. I can't think of any others right now. But they are originally, so the name macadamia comes from a Scottish-born Australian gentleman, John Macadam, who lived in the mid-1800s. It was named after him in 1857. He was a chemist and a medical teacher and a politician and a postmaster general. Interesting guy. Also, he died at sea at 38, so that's a whole different thing. But let's talk about the botany. So the trees themselves, they start producing when they're 4 to 5 years old, fully mature when they're 10 to 15 years old, and they will produce for 200 years. The nuts have a high oil content. So actually, I think they might have the highest oil content of any tree nut. 60 to 70% of the nut is oil. Oleic fatty acid is one of the main ones, and that's an important one that I'll talk about a little bit later. This is also important for chocolate makers because roasting the nut will increase the flavor, but it will also cause oil migration from the interior of the nut to the outside of the nut, which may cause some chocolate softening and other problems with your chocolate. So what else can I tell you? Some fun facts about macadamia. The most expensive nut in the world. A few reasons why. The demand is much greater than the supply. That will always increase the price. The processing and harvesting of them can be a little bit tricky and difficult, having to do with being able to tell when they're ripe, when the oils are at the proper ripe flavoring, I guess. What else? They are actually ingredients in many anti-aging creams. They're used in anti-aging creams, things like Lancome. That's because of that oleic fatty acid. It's a anti-wrinkle thing. And if you ingest it, it's also considered to be a cholesterol reducing fat, so it gets rid of your bad cholesterol. Highest oil content of any tree nut. I think I told you that already. Notoriously hard to crack. If you've ever seen these in Hawaii, so me and our family, when we were living in Hawaii, when we get our hands on these, you can't use one of those hand nut crackers that you would use on other things like walnuts or pecans or whatever. Won't work. You won't be able to crack this sucker open. So we would just put it on the ground and smash it with a rock, and that's how you would crack these open, because they are very hard to crack. And one thing that they also have in common with chocolate is that they are toxic to dogs. They don't exactly know why macadamia nuts are toxic to dogs, but they are. So you do not want your dog to get your hands on this spread. This is for humans only. So chocolate and macadamia, it's both toxic to dogs. So this spread is really nice because if you compare this to spreads that you get in the grocery store, let me see if I can get a picture of this. I can get it coming out. So it's a nice thick spread. I've had this at room temperature. You don't have to put it in the fridge. Nice thick spread. Smells really strong nuttiness, really good chocolate flavor. So very, very nice. And the oils contribute to the smoothness and the mouthfeel. So a really nice thing to try if you're used to that grocery store chocolate spread. It's going to be a whole new experience because that one is added oils and lots of sugar. And that's not the case here. The first ingredient here is Hawaii grown macadamia nuts. Second ingredient is cacao. So that's what you're getting with this spread. So if you've never tried anything other than that grocery store spread, I'd say give it a try. If you're ever somewhere where they grow macadamia nuts, they're fascinating. Go try and crack one open, see if you can do it. And that's all I have to say about macadamia nuts, I think. I think I hit all the things I wanted to say. So if you get to try the spread, or if you have any comments about macadamia nuts, love them, hate them, other fun facts that you want to tell me, drop it in the comments and I will reply and get back to you. And that is it for today's Bar Bits video. So thanks for joining me and I hope to see you next time.